Hi, my name is Stephen Procopio, and today I'm here to present my senior seminar project at Hiram College. The project is titled College Athletes Deserve Compensation. This has been an ongoing discussion for years and years and years about college athletes deserving compensation. We've seen many times in the past athletes testing the NCAA. One in particular was Maurice Clarett after winning the national title at Ohio State. He decided to try to enter the NFL draft early and test the NCAA. Unfortunately, that year he failed and did not receive his opportunity to play in the NFL, nor did he receive compensation from the NCAA. This is just one of the many athletes that have tested the stranglehold that the NCAA has over athletes. As you can see here is the poster. The picture right here is Johnny Manziel, also another athlete that tested the NCAA. He was named Johnny Football. People were producing shirts with the name Johnny Football on it. He decided to test the NCAA and try to trademark that name. The NCAA did not allow it. They said it was not within the trademark rights, and due to him being an amateur, he could not trademark that name. The real question here is, are these guys amateurs or are they professionals? They are on every national television network you can find. ESPN, CBS, NBC, True TV. All these big networks host these athletes on a daily basis, and the athletes get nothing. Schools are making millions of dollars by marketing these athletes, putting their names on posters. It sells tickets every single week to events. The athletes get nothing while the schools become millionaires. The NCAA, who is a non-profit organization, is making millions of dollars off these athletes. At one point, they actually had control of all the games that were televised on TV for college sports. This wasn't until a Supreme Court Act took that away from them. Here we have a percentage of the NCAA revenue. 81% is from TV and marketing. 11% is from championship tickets and merchandise. 4% is from investments, and 3% is from other. That is unbelievable to see that 81% of the revenue of college athletes is from TV and marketing. In this project, I produced a study. Here are the questions that were asked to numerous athletes that I actually played college sports with and knew. Questions are very basic. They start by asking what is the minimum amount of hours you put in weekly as an athlete. They continue by saying, what would you say your family standing is? Most of these kids come from poor to middle class families, and they can't afford to go out and be financially okay in college without a little bit of compensation. And if their family can't provide that for them, who can and who will? That was the purpose of this project. The purpose is to make people aware of what college athletes go through on a weekly basis, and that it is very hard as a college athlete to hold a job because you have no hours to work. College athletes are told they are only allowed to do their sports for 40 hours a week. That is with games, practices, and everything else included. Well, I for a fact know, after playing college sports, that that's not true. There's many more hours than 40 hours in a week. Most athletes are doing 60 hours a week in their sport on top of classroom work. Everybody forgets that the travel time to a game or the study tables that you have to participate in, maybe the mandatory workouts, nobody really sees those. But the athletes do. You know, your traditional student nowadays, they have the opportunity to go out and get a part-time job. Athletes do not have that opportunity. They don't have the hours to spare between their sport and their schoolwork. Most people, again, have never really thought of this but most athletes do come from struggling homes. As we continue, the results from that study were pretty much the same for everybody. Everybody said they put in numerous amounts of work on their sport every week. Everybody said between classwork and between their sport, they were overwhelmed and they struggled to be able to survive financially. One of the questions that I noticed was it was answered quite the same by every participant in the study. Was, has your college or university ever used your picture without your consent? Most athletes said yes. Whether it may be on their website, whether it may be on a poster, it doesn't matter. That is without an athlete's consent that these people are using their pictures. As we move on, this is a chart right here of how many athletes go from the NCAA to pro. In men's basketball, it's 1.3%. Women's basketball, 0.9. Football, 1.6. Baseball, 9.7. Ice hockey, 1.2. And soccer, 0.7. That means not many college athletes are making it to the next level. In order to ensure these kids get the right education, we need to offer them compensation, because over the years, you have seen the increase in many, many athletes leaving college early to go participate in pro sports. Most of them are doing that because of their financial situations. Had these athletes been offered very minimal compensation just to ensure that they have enough money for food and clothing and whatever else they need, this would not be an issue. As you can see again, this is all becoming a huge problem because these guys are getting into professional sports, and if they don't make it, then they don't have an education to fall back on anymore. That has caused more problems than we can imagine. Here is a chart of the college football revenue over the past few years. Texas generated $93.9 million from their college football team in one season. University of Arizona was a close second at $71.9 million. Those numbers are extremely, extremely high, and it blows my mind and many other people's as to why these universities can't offer athletes a little bit of compensation. I understand that they have to use the money for other things such as stadium updates and many other things that need done. But at making $93 million, I truly believe that they can offer the students some form of compensation. If anybody remembers, years ago, the Northwestern football team decided to test the NCAA and were actually successful by forming their own union. All the athletes came together, formed a union, and this union provides them with simple living expenses. If they're living off campus as juniors and seniors, they get a little bit extra just for their living expenses. It's not much, but it's enough for these students to where they can survive financially and continue their education rather than having to go professional early. Another incident with the NCAA was a pitcher for Oklahoma State. He was getting ready to participate in the College Baseball World Series. And right before the Baseball World Series, he was deemed ineligible for the rest of the 2008 season and the 2009 season. This young man planned to enter the draft in 2009. And due to the NCAA, he attempted to enter in 2008 without earning his degree. He broke a rule of hiring an agent, which all he was trying to do was plan for his future. This is just yet another example of the NCAA and the stranglehold they have on all these athletes. In conclusion, if we begin to pay college athletes, maybe it would convince these young men and women to stay in school longer and finish their education. A lot of schools actually take away the scholarships after 4 years of playing. Many athletes can't afford to go to school after their 4th year, and many of them don't finish in 4 years while they're playing a sport. Most athletes are taking 12 to 14 credit hours a semester, and that does not keep you on track to graduate in 4 years. If these kids were offered compensation and a scholarship guaranteed their whole time throughout school, the number of college graduates that were athletes would continue to rise. I would like to say thank you for listening to my presentation, and please let's think about paying these college athletes.